Greetings, everybody. This is Courtney Starhart in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'm coming to you to talk to you about 3 tips for how to prepare for ceremony and to also process after ceremony. So, I am a traditionally trained medicine person working with ayahuasca in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was trained by a Native American elder over the course of 10 years, and I had already done 10 to 15 years of work before that. So I've been working with ayahuasca for many years now. We've built this beautiful community, and I have learned a lot. I learned something every single ceremony. Obviously, every single day we all learn things. But I want to share this knowledge with you. Okay, so let's get right to it. 3 tips to prepare and process. 1, know what you're dealing with. Try to get a handle on what the idea of the divine feminine is, right? The divine masculine is force and the divine feminine is form, okay? There's the right-hand path and the left-hand path. And what we have going on with grandmother ayahuasca is obviously a feminine thing. We're going into the spirit world. They call ayahuasca the dead man's vine in some places, and it literally is something that gives us the ability to step into the other side, into the spirit world and into our own inner world. So the spirit world is not exactly as they told us in terms of heaven and hell. I understand, after having been there quite a few times, how people might have gotten into the belief that there's a specific place called hell. It also might have been a power tool of the patriarchy to try to keep us down. Control, right? You'll burn in hell forever if you step out of line, you know? So, there are places in the spirit world that have difficult energies, painful places, but that's within our own psyche usually. As we're getting ready to go into the spirit world, you have to go down into the unconscious before you come up, all right? And that is textbook divine feminine, the unseen. Greg Braden talks about the feminine matrix, and I really love that. That was probably one of the beliefs that goes back to the Coptic Christians or to the people that Jesus was running around with in those times. They worshipped the divine feminine. They also worked with plant medicine. And so they developed this thing that they referred to as the feminine matrix. 99.9% of reality is not empty space. It is actually consciousness. So the quantum physics and the science that we're coming up with nowadays actually confirms a lot of the ancient mystical teachings, which is a really amazing thing. Science is finally catching up with shamanism. Oh boy. Okay, so feminine matrix is what we're dealing with ayahuasca, the inner world, the water world, the spirit world, the dream time. So the more that you can develop your vocabulary and your ability to understand symbolic ease, then the better off you're going to be in ceremony, both during, before, and after. So that's why we have cultural educational materials for our community and for our clients, because it gives you a real head start on understanding some of the nuances of what ayahuasca does and how it works. So thing number 2 is actually the physical practice that you're going to need to help yourself to process this properly. A lot of stuff comes up. I mean, you're basically going through death's door and you're having a flow of DMT in your bloodstream that only happens when you're born, when you give birth, if you're a woman, and when you die. So this is a transcendental state. And it's going to change a lot of things about how you see life, how you see yourself. And if you don't do your work, you're gonna have the tendency to either project on other people, to maybe backslide, to have a bit of a panic attack and things start to fall apart, or worse. I mean, some people just kind of go over the edge because they can't come to terms with what they've seen and experienced on the other side, or what's really actually within yourself. So there are yogic teachings and there's yogic practice, physical practice. I mean asanas, I mean power yoga, I mean breath work, okay? You inhale as you're doing upward motions and you exhale as you're doing downward motions. that pranic flow is going to keep things moving in your energy body, because things are going to percolate up from your unconscious, not just during the ceremony, but also after, as you're trying to rebalance your life. You're not going to be the same person anymore. So you need this integration. So the breath work with power yoga, combined with some specific pieces of knowledge. There's a book called The Surrender Experiment, and the man who wrote it actually wrote a book called The Untethered Soul. But the idea of surrender, the idea of getting into a place where you're a little bit less egoful. Maybe not fully ego-less, because we still want to keep in touch with all of that, but at the same time, to not attach to things. It's really important to be able to surrender, to just release things, because when things come up with ayahuasca, they're coming up, it's an opportunity to let them go. But if you cling to it and you attach to it and you start lashing out and projecting at people or freaking out, you're not going to get anywhere. And I'd rather not give you medicine, in my case, if that's all you're going to do with it. So doing yoga every day, TM meditation is what we recommend. And then also there's a book called Creation Frequency by Mike Murphy, and it comes with an app that's really awesome. You can actually listen to your own recorded meditations layered over binaural beats, which essentially lodges those beliefs really deep in your unconscious, so that you begin to unconsciously believe that you're going to be really successful, right? Or whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay, so tip number 3, journal and do your homework, okay? Journaling is so important, because over time, you'll kind of lose the impact of some of these subtle nuances that are actually really important. Divine feminine medicine, of course. If we think about it, our female friends, wives, lovers, sisters, women are more in tune maybe with subtle nuances. And so that again is very yin, very lunar, spirit world, divine feminine. If you don't capture these little nuances, the synchronicities, the hunches, the dreams, the powerful things that are going to happen when you start unlocking yourself from your own junk, we don't have to carry that around, right? But guess what? As you're walking it out the door and ushering it out, isn't it interesting to kind of write that down so that you have a record? Because over time, your experiences with medicine and with spirituality are kind of like a mosaic. And these mosaic pieces, they make sense, like those big photo mosaic things, the puzzles. Each one of those little mosaics is one little piece, but it's also part of a picture around it, and it's connected to these other things. This yin medicine, grandmother, is connective. She shows us about interconnections, and she helps us to understand our relationship with ourselves, our feelings, and the world around us, including the earth, the cosmos, and each other. That is a completely different paradigm than what most people are used to. So you want to take care of yourself by journaling as well. Learn symbolic language from your journaling, because you're going to have symbols come in, and you're going to be able to ask yourself and kind of look up, what does that mean? Oh, a coyote just crossed my path. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, I dreamt of an owl. What does that mean? So there you go. 3 tips. I hope that didn't take too long. 3 tips. Know what the feminine matrix is and what you're dealing with. 2, learn to surrender, especially by doing your yoga and your meditation every day. And 3, journal and do your homework by learning the symbolic language and taking care of yourself. Okay? All right, lots of love, everybody. Bye for now.